I've been here for 4 months at 2300 meters above sea level in Iten Kenya for my marathon training. I can't believe it's already 4 months that I'm training here now. Well, the first month went pretty rocky. I had to adjust a little bit to the altitude and also to the new food. After that, January and February were very consistent, where I hit between 160 and 170 kilometer weeks. I was a little bit unlucky, maybe pushing the boundaries a little bit too much in the beginning of March. Then I got sick a little bit. It took me a few days, or I took a few days off, and then it took me actually 2 weeks to feel normal again. This last week I finished my biggest week so far with 173 kilometers. I also finished on Sunday with a long run of 35 kilometers with some marathon pace in there. So I feel like I'm back on track for my Rotterdam marathon in 3 weeks. So training at high altitude has several effects on your body and also on your training. The main effects are, of course, that you have an increased level of EPO and a higher production of red blood cells, and also you build a stronger cardiovascular system. However, there are also some negative side effects, but I won't go over the physiological effects that much in this video. I'll mainly focus on what I have learned from 4 months training here at altitude in Kenya. Let's dive in. First, consistent training is easier at altitude because there's good weather, less sickness, and also no distractions. Besides training together with others, there's also not much to do here in Iten besides relax or drink a good coffee. Secondly, I did not fully adapt to this altitude. Of course, there's adaptation in the first few weeks or the first month, but I think above 2000 meters or 6,500 feet of elevation gain, you don't fully adapt anymore to the altitude if you're born at sea level like me. Of course, this can be a bit individual. It might even take years to fully adapt. I've also been here for 4 to 5 weeks. Then you definitely don't fully adapt, although you have the benefits of the adaptation in the first weeks already. Of course, you adapt slowly to the altitude conditions in the first month, and I noticed this with my lactate testing in the first month as well. I could sustain the same pace with lower lactate values. I measured quite a lot in the first few weeks, so that was a good sign and also a sign of adaptation. However, because I didn't fully adapt, training stays harder here at altitude, so it's hard to tell in which shape I am now. So therefore I really need to go back to sea level and do some harder training and some races there. Overtraining and managing fatigue is harder at altitude than at sea level. It didn't work with a fixed rest day like the Kenyans have on Sunday. However, my next longer block, probably in the summer here in Iten, this is something to consider. Recovery just takes a little bit longer here at altitude, and a weekly rest day is never a bad idea actually. I also did check a few times my blood levels to check for my, especially for my hemoglobin levels, to see if my iron supplementation was working and if my blood levels were normal. Iron supplementation can be key because your body needs to produce more hemoglobin/red blood cells to adapt to the altitude. What you also notice, especially in the first week, that it's a bit harder to fall asleep. Your body is still adapting to the altitude, and especially during the night as well. Your body needs to breathe or work a little bit harder to get enough oxygen. And sometimes even during the night your brain thinks it is in oxygen debt and you might wake up from that. I read into that online a bit. But after you adapt well and you start to train harder after a week, this should go away. You should feel more tired and start to fall asleep and sleep better. In the first week, of course, you don't train that hard as well, so you're more fresh. You don't need that much sleep yet. And last, you always have good training partners here. Of course, there are the Kenyan athletes who are all pretty fast, and also most athletes who come from Europe are international athletes or sub-elite athletes who run pretty fast. So there are always good training partners to train with. That makes you more humble about your own performance and want to push your boundaries further again. So, I learned quite some valuable lessons here at altitude. Altitude training can be a valuable tool to improve your performance. However, there's a balance in training load. The balance is actually a little bit more fine than at sea level, in my opinion. And I'm looking forward now to go back home to the Netherlands and see how I perform there in training and in racing. And as always, if you still go out there today, have fun and get on the run.